Hello everyone, welcome back. So in this video we are going to understand uh, how to solve the Leetcode problem number 165, compare version number. Okay, so if you have ever confused by the version string like 1.0, 1.10, 1.2, like that, if you have confusion or if you have wondered how to compare this version, right, with one, so this video will make it a very clear, right? So we'll go through simple steps and we'll understand the intuition too here. Okay, so very first, what we have given in this problem is uh, we are given two, you can say, version string, and each made of integer, you can say, and it is separated by dot, you can say. Okay, in both cases, if you see. So B, compare the numbers part first, right? By part, we can say from left to right. So if one part is larger than the other, right, that version is considered the bigger one, correct? So if the parts are equal, we'll keep going, will not do anything, we'll keep, very first we'll understand through one and one, both are same, right? So we'll not do anything, we'll continue checking the other parts, right? So here is 2 and here is 1 point, here is 1, right? It means it's bigger part, right? So if the parts are equal, we'll keep going, we'll keep continuing that. And if it is a larger one, that version consider the bigger one. Okay, and the missing part are treated as 0. So at the end, we will return 1 if the version is greater, otherwise we'll return -1, we can say that. Okay, if the version 1 is less than version 2, we'll return -1. Other cases will return 1, or otherwise cases will be there if both are same. If they are equal, we'll return equal to 0, right? So what we will return at the end, if both version are if it is really greater than, so we'll say okay, version 1 is greater than version 2, return 1. If not, return -1. Otherwise, if both are same, return 0. This is what we have to do in this problem statement. But I'll suggest please pause this video and go through the statement that what we have given here, so it will be helpful to write the code. Now let's understand the example. So this is our example. So let's take this example where we have the version 1 is 1.10 and another we have version is 1.001. Okay, so the very first, both have the first part, if you say. Okay, let's talk about the first part. What we have given the first part? So first part we have given is 1 and here is also given 1, means 1 vs 1, so which is equal, we can say that, correct? Let's talk about the second part. Second part, what we have given is 0 1 vs 0 0 1. Okay, so if we ignore the leading 0, right, in both cases, we can say, so just it is 1, right? So the final result is equal, which means we return 0 if both part are 0, or sorry, equals. This is what the question was saying, that if v1 is greater than the v2, we will return 1. If v1 is less than v2, we will return -1. If v1 equal to v2, we will return 0. And this is our case that we have seen in the example too. And you can see here the output is also coming 0, right? Let's talk about the another example we have is what we can take from here. Let's take another example. Let's talk about how we can create our own example. Okay, let's think that the version 1 we have is 1.0 1.0 1 we can take. Okay, this is the very first version we have. Next version we have is v2, and we can say this is 1. Okay, now let's compare the very first part. This is the first part, we can say this is nothing but the 1. Okay, so both are equal. Then the second part we have is 0 vs missing. This is nothing but the missing. So we can say, okay, very first part 1 vs 1 we got equal, we can say that. Then we can say 0 vs missing, it is not there. It means missing will be counted as a 0. Okay, so when missing we will find it is nothing but a 0. So both are 0, so we'll say okay, still equal. Okay, then the third part is, here is 1, here is missing, right? So we'll say okay, 1 vs missing means nothing but the 0. It means what? Which one is bigger? The 1 is bigger, right? We can say. So in this case, because the v1 is greater than the v2, it means it should return 1, right? This is what we need to develop, right? This is what we need to develop the code based on the this criteria. Okay, so the best way to understand this is to imagine 2 pointers. Okay, one scanning through the version 1, right, and another is scanning through the version 2. So each time we hit a dot, right, or the end of the string, we can also say, right, we grab the segment and we'll compare, and then we'll keep moving. Then we'll move the pointer is forward, we can say that. Okay, means what I'm trying to say. So each time we will hit a dot, right here, and or there will be chance that we will reach to the end, like we have hit here dot, right? We have hit here dot, but we have hit here what? The end of the string, right? So we will grab this segment and we'll compare, right? And then we'll move the pointer forward, either in the v1 or either v2. Both pointer we can move accordingly. If they are equal, like we have seen here, we'll keep going, right? We have checked first one, both are equal. Second one we have checked, both are equal, right? If not, right, if not, like this case, then return the result immediately by your conditions based on the criteria that we have seen here. I hope you understand. So can we say that the intuition is very simple, right? The version are just a list of numbers, we can say, in both cases that we have seen, and these are separated by what? The dots. These are separated by dots, right? So we'll compare them number by number, correct? And we will ignore the leading 0, we will ignore, right? We will ignore this. Understand? So the missing number will be counted as what? Is 0. That's all we have here. Okay. So this problem you can solve by multiple ways, right? Very first that we have talked about is split and compare this string. Okay. So you will use the split method, string.split, and you will split based on these dots, right? And you will break the version into array of string. You can say there may be a chance multiple dots will be there, so it will be separated in the array of a string, and you will pass each one into integer, and then you will compare with the another one, right? And you will compare. So it is easy to write, but be careful with a very large number. Then there is a chance it may overflow. Okay. Another approach is that you can use the 2 pointers. One pointer is in the first one, another pointer in the another one, right? We'll use the 2 pointer streaming here let's suppose. So don't split anything, right? Don't split everything upfront here, you can say, and work both side of the string with indices. Okay, so extract the number on the fly and compare. So this avoid the method overhead and handles big numbers safely by comparing uh, string length instead of converting the integers. So this will become easy, right? The third approach, what we can do, we can use a big integer and we'll convert each part into big integer and then we can compare. So that will not go for the overflow. So that will work for arbitrarily larger number, we can say, but it is slower and heavier, right? So I'll suggest either use the very first approach or the second one. Leave the big integer one. Okay, this concept will not work. What you can do, you can split and compare the string, you can say, or better I'll suggest use the 2-pointer string approach. That will help you a lot. Okay, so let's understand here. So I'll go through the very first part, first approach, and then we'll go through the another approach. So we'll understand both approach here. Okay, very first, think that we have given version 1 and version 2 we have given. Okay, so how we are going to split it, right? So I'll suggest, let's take not an integer, this will be a string, right? So we'll say okay, string, and this will be our array after the split. So okay, we'll say okay, the v1, we'll say v1 string, we can say, we can get from where? The version 1, right? This is, we have to split. So we'll say okay, version dot split, and we have to split based on what? The dot. So we have to write double quote. In the double quote, you will write the dot. So there will be a chance the escape letters we should also pass, so it will split perfectly if in case anything happens. Okay, the space anything will come based on that, I'm saying. Okay, similarly, let's go for the v2, where we have v2 array, and this is nothing but v2. Okay, version 2. So both are splitted now. Now what we need to do, we have to find the max length, we can say that. So let's, why I'm going to find the max length, I'll tell you. So to find the max length, you can say math.max, and we'll use the v1.length function. The string have a length function that we can call, right? But this is an array, so we don't need the length function. So we'll go over the v2 dot length, we can say this is array, so we can use dot length only. We can find the max here. Why? Because we have to iterate on the both, right? In that case, we'll take the max n, right? So that is why we have taken the max n. So I will start from 0 and I should go for less than what? N, and I plus plus. Okay, so all the strings should be compared in both, all the indexes should be visited. So that is why we have took the n as a max value. Understanding? Let's suppose this is ABC and this is only A. So this is, let's suppose, is 1.1 and this is only 1, right? In that case, we should iterate all the string here, right? That is why we have took here. So very first, what you need to do, let's call, we have an integer, and this integer is nothing but we call x. Okay, and we can say okay, if I is less than what? v1 dot length, v1 dot length, if I is less than v1 dot length, then what we need to do is say okay, integer dot parse int, and we will convert, let's suppose, what if we have v1 and at what? v1 at index I, and then we'll mark it as a 0, we can say. Similarly, we'll go for the v2 okay, this will become v2 and this will become v2. Okay, this is what we need to implement. Now once we found the x and y from both side, right, both version, just will compare. Okay guys, let's compare the value with if x not equal to y. In that case we'll say okay, return if x is greater than y, then we will return what? We'll return 1, otherwise we will return -1. This is what we need to do. Or in all the other cases, this method should return 0, right? So this way this code becomes what? This will become easy, it's very short, easy to read, and works for all the Leetcode problems input, okay, that we have given. Let me try here. So all these test cases are working fine. Let me submit. Submit is also working fine. Okay. So what I'll suggest, let me go to the code. I will suggest that, see, the process that it's very short, right, and easy to read, and it will work typically all the Leetcode inputs, right? That is, or not all the Leetcode, all the inputs of the Leetcode, right? But what is the cons here? The cons is here that if we do integer.parse, right, as we are doing in both side, so this can overflow if the segment is extremely long values. So let's suppose you are in the real interview, or you are writing this piece of code. So what the interviewer will say, okay, so what if we have an extremely long value in the version? Okay, in that case this approach will not work. This approach will take extra memory. This will work, but it will take extra memory because all the inputs that we have here in the Leetcode, that is working. But in that case, if the segment is larger, right, so it may be extremely long, right? So but the possible in other contexts, right, it will not work. Okay, so use extra memory for the array. In that case it will work, right? Because here we are taking the extra memories here, right? Array, we are converting into the string. So this is working, but the problem is that if it is larger value, so it can overflow when we are doing the parsing, and that can give you the error. And other thing that we are using extra memory here, so this is also not good. So don't be confused. It's very simple that only because of the we can say if the segment is coming extra, right, the larger it can become it can overflow, we can say that. Okay, what I'm thinking. Okay, so I think let's go with the another approach. Let me clean it. Now think about the two pointer algorithms, right? So we'll use two pointer streaming, not a heavy splitting, we can say that, but we'll walk through the idea that I was talking about is we'll walk in both string, either the version 1 and version 2, right? Both strings have, let's suppose this is having index I and this is having index j, right? That start from I, we can say, and it starts at j. Can we say that? And both will go to the tilde n for their own n, not for the individual n. So for each string will read the character until a dot to extract a segment, and will strip the leading 0 and will pass on the fly, and then we'll compare the segment. So let's try to understand here how we are going to do that. So one more thing, like we know that Java is very robust. It will avoid the full split and it will handle extremely long numeric value segment or safely by comparing the length, we can say the first. So according to, we will write the code here. Let's suppose we'll say int I equal to 0. Okay. Then we'll say j will also start from 0, right? And there will be our own lengths, right? Let's call the n for the version 1 dot length. Can we say that? So this length will be function because this is our array, this is our string. Similarly, we'll take m for the length, or you can the size of version 2, we can say 2 dot length. So this is what we need to write our code. So in the 2 pointers, we know that very first we need 2 things. Very first, I should be less than n, correct? Or we can say j should be less than m. Okay, this is our boundary conditions for our I and j. So it should not go beyond the boundaries, because I start at 0 and it should be less than n, and j starts at 0 but it should be less than m. Okay, this is what we need for our pointers, so it should not exceed it. Okay, now let's extract the segment. How we are going to extract? Let's say extract segment from v1. Okay, so if we'll extract the segment, how we are going to start? So we'll say there will be some start, and we'll say okay, start from 0. Okay, if we will start from 0, so we'll make the condition what? Or rather than starting from 0, what we can do is start from I, right? Because I is already at 0. We'll say okay, I is less than n. When I is less than n, and the v1, that is means we can talk about the version 1 we have here, right? If the version 1 while I is less than n and version having character, let's suppose the character having other than the dot, in that case what we will write? We'll say okay, the version 1 dot caret we can write, right? Caret is a function that we can use. Caret I, if caret I is not equal to the dot, in that case we will compare. Okay, if not equal to dot, then we'll say okay, in that case what we will do? We'll say okay, I plus plus will do. Okay, and we can get the segment now. Let's say leave it for a while, we'll do again later. Similarly, we'll do again later. Okay, so very first let's call the string, and we'll say okay, segment 1 will start from where? From the start. If start is less than I, and the version 1 dot substring will take. Substring. If substring which is from start, because start will be get changed all the time, and the I, right? So we'll say okay, I, and then because what happens here, we start at I at 0, let's suppose. Okay, and until let's talk about with examples, then you will understand. Okay, and let me tell you how, what I'm trying to do here. Let me first write the first part, then you will understand. Okay, then we'll say, okay, if I is less than n and the version1 dot caret I, if it is equal to dot, right, in that case we'll say, okay, I plus plus. This is what we will do for the extracting the segment in part 1 from version 1, and similarly we'll do for the part 2. Okay, let me write the, okay, first let's understand first this part. So let's suppose the version we have is 1 dot or 001, like this. Similarly we have is 1 only. Okay, very first in this case, okay, so we have to extract this part first. Okay, so it is saying until we are not getting dot, right, until we are not getting dot, so increase the I plus plus, right, until we are not getting the dot. So when the I start at here, which is at where, at 0, okay, so we'll find that this is not happening, so we'll increase the I from 0 to 1. Okay, and I we have already stored at start. Okay, so start we have is at 0 and I now become is 1. Then we'll take the substring, right, segment will get the start is less than I, and the version we will take version1 dot substring, and we'll start the substring from where, we can say 0 to 1, right, and from 0 to 1 we'll get what, we'll get 1 here. In this case there may be some more values will be there. Let's suppose if it is 21, so I will start will be at here and I will be here, right, a start and I, so we'll get the 21 completely, right, where at the segment. Understand? So this is what we need to do after the dot, right, after the dot, if it finds the dot, so it will increase the I again. Okay, this is what we need to implement. I hope you understands. Let's try to write the further code. Okay, so we understand the on the fly we will only check the values and then we'll do that, right? So we'll do the rest of the code, then you will understand. Okay, so again what we need to do, similarly we know that this piece of code we have to write again. I'll copy here. Okay, so we are going to get the value from the version 2 this time, right, and we know that the start should be now start from where, at J, and similarly we'll say, okay, J should be less than what, M, and our version 2 dot char at J, if it is not equal to dot, will increase the J here. Then we'll say, okay, while string segment 2 is there, right, at start is less than what, is J, and the version 2 dot substring will take is this one, right? Okay, so we have not made the condition guys here, otherwise cases we have to also take, right? If let's suppose if start is less than I, right, it should be what, it should be the question mark, not the and, right? I forget to write this one, and it should be 0, right, because we have to check. Similarly happen, it's okay, and it should be 0, and this should be J. Understand? This is what we need to do. And similarly for here, we'll say okay j, and it should be our m. This should be version 2. This should be version, this should be j, and it should be j++. Okay, this is what we need to implement for segment, extracting the segment 1 and segment 2. Okay, now the important thing comes here is comparing the value. So what we need to do, we'll say okay, compare by length first. So we will avoid what? Overflow. Understand? Then we lexicography, lexicographically we'll check the length. If the same length we have, what I'm trying to say, let's suppose we'll say okay if, and so before comparing guys, what we should do, we should check the leading zero also. We cannot write directly, right? What we need to do, let's find, we will check the leading zero, means we'll say strip leading zero. Remember that part I forget to write. Okay, so what we need to do, you will understand, don't worry. So very first, let's talk about, we have a p1 which is start at 0. Okay, then we'll say okay, what is the while loop work? Okay, so we'll say okay, we'll say while this p1 is less than a segment 1 that we have found, right, and its length. This is a string, so we can use it as string. Okay, and another condition is what? The segment 1 dot char at pointer, we can say, if the pointer at p, we can say, if it is coming the part 1, we can say, not pointer, we can say part 1 is equal to 0. In that case we will not do anything, right? At part 1, if nothing is there, we'll say okay plus will do. Continue, don't do anything, remember? So that we need to check. So we'll say okay, are you understanding or not? So we'll take what we have at p1, right? So we'll say okay, very first check the condition. If condition is less than and the segment at char at p is equal to 0, in that case we'll say okay, just keep going ahead, right? We'll not do anything because both are same. Okay, so skip for now. Okay, let's go for the p2. We'll check for p2 segment 2 p2 0, then increase the p2. I think I forget to write p1 here. Okay, so both we will get like this, right? What we need to do is just find the, let's suppose we'll call the what is the result we will get from here in both length, we can say. Let's call it string p1 equal to what? We'll say p1 if it equal to segment length, right? If it is equal to segment 1 dot length, if it is equal to, in that case we'll say okay, put 0. Okay, if it is equal to, otherwise give the proper substring. I will get we'll say segment 1 dot substring will do, right? Substring spelling is fine, right? T1. So similarly, we'll find our T2, right? Means we have discarded the leading 0, all the leading 0 in both the segment. Understand? We are taking the substring. So we have discarded it. Now, when we are talking about this one length compare, right? So directly we'll not do the length compare. First, we'll strip the leading zeros and then we'll do that, right? So we'll say, okay, what we have at, what is the length of the transform string, we can say, right? We'll say, okay, length, if it is not equal to t2 dot length, right? And the means new string, you can say transform string, right? In that case, we'll say, okay, return t1 dot length should, if it is greater than t2 dot length, right? If it is true, return 1 or return -1. Remember, this is what we need to do. Otherwise what we will do, we'll say, okay, we'll take one value, let's say compare, and we'll say don't write compare complete, write compare cmp if equal to t1 dot compare was string cat compare to, and will pass t2. Okay, so it will compare, it will give the value. Similarly, we have the integer, and don't write integer, just write the code because we have already done. So we'll say, okay, compare if not equal to 0. In that case, we will return cmp if it is greater than 0, question mark 1, otherwise -1, right? This is what we need to do. In the final code, we'll return 0. Understand or not? Very first, what we have done, we have extracted the characters, we can say, in both the string. How? After the dot, we know that before let's suppose for the before dot we are talking about first time, okay, means we will get not equal to dot. So we have extracted the string, right? We have a start here, and the I will be keep moving ahead until we will not find the dot. The very first segment we will get, okay, so that we will get. Then we'll check if I is less than n and version 1 dot char at I equal to 0, right? So we'll say, okay, that is coming dot, right? So we'll increase plus plus. So on the fly we are getting our segment, and we are what we called after the dot we are checking, okay, we'll increasing the value. Similarly, we'll get the segment, right? And then another segment we'll get from the v2. Then we'll get p1 and p2, right? And we'll check the segment what we have here in the segment, right? If it is if its length is 0, means we have to discard it and we have to get our new string, and then we'll compare the value. Okay, I hope you understands. Let me run it. So the expected is if p1 is equal to question mark, it should be 0, otherwise okay. I think this was causing cannot find the symbol. Which symbol he is talking about? Version on spelling is mistake. No. Let me check. Care at. Why it is not taking care at? Let me check. Let's try again. Start is already fine. Yes, start is already fine. Oh my gosh, how many errors? Yeah, let me remove this part also. Okay, it's happened. Okay, cannot find this symbol. Segment 1. Why? Let me fix it. So P1. Okay, now it's look good. T1 is not working. I think everything looks good to me. Let me check. Okay, so these were minor changes was there, right? So you can see this is what we have here. Okay, let me submit. Working fine. Okay, so I'll suggest please write down the in the comment section that what is the time complexity and space complexity in our program. So I did. Okay, so let me format it again. Okay, so please write the code in the sorry, time complexity and space complexity in the comment box, so I'll understand that you understand everything, right? And I'll put this code into the comment box, we can say, and I'll I will pin there. Okay, anyways, thank you for watching this video. If you have any doubts, please ping me in the comment box. Thank you. Bye bye.